Well, they can't all be winners. What's going on? Welcome back to the channel and my review of the second episode of The Mandalorian Season 2. So right off the bat, I noticed that this episode is 10 minutes shorter than the last episode. I wonder if that's a trend. I bring up the fact that we're 10 minutes shorter because I think that once these episodes get tighter, every single second counts. So if we waste anything on a silly scene or something that doesn't make any sense or something that really is so inconsequential to the plot, it's annoying. That brings us to the very first scene of this episode. Now, this is a cool action scene, but it takes 3.5 minutes to execute this failed attempt to steal the child from Mando. And I get the feeling that the whole point of this scene was just to have the joke at the end where the guy runs away with the jetpack and Mando turns it on with his gauntlet and the guy falls, a la Wile E. Coyote. It was unnecessary. Unnecessary because while it was executed well, it looked fine. In the bigger scheme of things, when you get a 48-minute episode in a season that only has 8 episodes, and you have 3.5 minutes of that episode, almost 10% of the episode, dedicated to a nonsensical scene that really doesn't forward the plot at all, it's a little frustrating. And the scene comes and goes, and there's no consequence to the rest of the episode. We don't know who these people are. We don't know how they got the information. I thought that maybe there was going to be some tie with Pelimoto. Maybe she sold some information. Maybe she mentioned where Mando was going, and then there was going to be some sort of tie there, some kind of betrayal, And then the whole episode is him finding that out, maybe getting off of Tatooine, but that wasn't the case. So Mando has to walk back to Mos Eisley's with all the gear and the Beskar armor and carrying the child. Finally makes it back, and we get another scene with the quirky mechanic. I don't like this character. In the first season, she was fine. Okay, she's quirky. But she's just, in this episode, she's off-putting. She's trying to be snarky and charming, and it's just not working for me. And she's playing cards with Dr. Mandible in the cantina, and don't worry, to move the plot forward, he just happens to know someone who knows where more Mandalorians can be found, which is really odd because they made it a point in the first episode to say or insinuate or imply that Mando's been looking for information on the Mandalorians. It's been really hard to come by, and he actually put his life in jeopardy in the first episode to try to get this information. And now random insects playing card games in a cantina happen to know a guy who knows a guy who can help you out. So I thought that was a little bit silly. And then you get the plot device where, okay, we find out that this is a frog person. I'm sure the alien race has a name. Forgive me, I don't know it. Wasn't really compelled to go find this information out. But the person that knows where the Mandalorians are is a frog amphibian person, and they have this container full of eggs, and they've got to transport their eggs to another planet to get fertilized. Question, why is an amphibian on Tatooine a desert planet? Can we just start there? Driving the point home, she has to carry her eggs around in a container full of liquid. There's no water. So now this alien has to get off the planet, obviously, and needs the Mandalorians' help. Because no one else on the planet has a ship, so this should be no big issue for Mando because the system is just next to the system he's currently in. But he can't use the hyperdrive. No light speed travel. Why? Because the eggs will die. What? So if you want this plot device of him not being able to use the hyperdrive, you could have done this in a very different way. Here's my suggestion. You get rid of the 3.5-minute scene at the beginning of the episode, okay? And when he's in the hangar and he's got the passenger and he's ready to take off, that's when the Marauders attack that are trying to get to the child. And so there's a firefight that ensues, things are getting damaged. He's able to get in the Razor Crest and take off, and the hyperdrive is damaged in that conflict as he's leaving the planet. And he discovers this when he's in space. So, okay, listen, got some good news, got some bad news. We made it out alive. We're okay, we can get to the planet, but the problem is we can't go faster than light. We can't use the hyperdrive. It's damaged. There you go. It's all done. It's a little neater. It flows better. That's what I would have suggested. Disney, call me. So they're in the ship, and the child sees the eggs, and there's this really, what I thought in the moment was interesting, where he kind of hugs the container that the eggs are in, and you almost see him do like a hand wave, like the Force. And then the eggs, you see the eggs sort of float closer to him. I'm like, wow, is he communicating with the eggs? Is he what? How is this going to tie in? Is this another Force power we haven't seen yet? What's going on? No, he just wants to eat them, and that's the joke through the whole episode. He's eating these eggs, and it's like, okay, the first time is like, okay, haha. It's like a fake out. It's like a Ryan Johnson fake out, right? My expectations were completely subverted in a disappointing way. He just eats the eggs, and then he burps. So I think that in that you had another missed opportunity for some good storytelling. So Din Djarin and the child bed down for what they think is going to be a nice long trip, but their sleep is interrupted by a couple X-wings, and I got excited. This was pretty cool. Okay, so they pull up alongside. It's not just X-wing showing up blasting away, which makes sense. These are the good guys. This is the New Republic. So they're cruising along next to him. It's just sort of some banter going back and forth. You think Mando's gonna sort of get out of this one? So at first he gets away with the not having the beacon transmitting, and he's like, well, I got an old ship, and they're like, okay, that's fine, get that fixed. It's kind of funny. It's like when a cop pulls you over because you got a taillight out and you get the little citation. Hey, you need to get this fixed. So that was kind of fun. That was cool. That was kind of a funny banter back and forth, kind of a tense situation. You don't know what's going to happen. And so he transmits, and then you don't really hear anything. And one pilot asks the other pilot to switch to channel 2, and you got some silence. And then the wings go into attack formation. That was cool. I was like, oh, it's on now. Mando done messed up. And then you got the flight, and then you got the chase. And I like the chase. The chase was cool. The effects were really good. I enjoyed it. I was in at that point. I like the fact that they're sort of toying with the Razor Crest. Obviously, you're not going to outmaneuver 2 X-Wings. They're not trigger happy. They're not trying to kill him. Remember, these are the good guys. So there's a little sort of back and forth. And then I like how Mando had to be slick. He had to be tricky. He had to really use the Razor Crest in ways that only he could because of his experience with the aircraft, and or the spacecraft, I should say. And he's able to kind of get away. But there's a crash landing. It's rough. This series sort of has a problem with over-exaggerated wreckage. You remember in the first season when the Jawas were taking apart a ship, and they didn't just take off panels or maybe like a crucial piece or maybe one thruster or something, or one engine. They completely just dismantle the damn ship. I mean, it's down to bare bones, down to a skeleton. And that was excessive. That wasn't necessary. You could have had them, take a single part off the Razor Crest, and it wouldn't work without that one part. But you didn't have to they just take it down to such a level where wires are hanging out and sparking, and they do the same thing here, where it's just the damage is such that you're like, okay, that's too much. It could just be damage. It could be a crack in the hull, and he's trying to just fix that issue, that problem. Everything else is damaged, it's dinged up, it's okay. But this is one problem, this one crucial issue we've got to fix. If I can't seal this hull, then we're going to be stuck in the cockpit. So he could just be working on that. There doesn't have to be wires and sparks. The hull is completely ripped open. It's a little bit too exaggerated, because the problem is that while this is Star Wars and it's fantasy, obviously, you have to believe that this one guy is going to be able to fix this problem within a certain amount of time. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll be stuck here for a couple episodes. But that doesn't end up being the case. So after Mando sort of assesses the damage, he says, listen, let's just bed down for the night. This will wait till tomorrow, and I'll get to working on it tomorrow. And he goes to sleep, but that sleep is interrupted again by the frog amphibian alien rewiring a droid and then using it as a translator. How long was he asleep? How did this alien know how to do this? You're fixing these very simple problems that you yourself have set up in very complicated ways in very short periods of time, and it just doesn't feel necessary. I mean, why did it have to be an issue that they couldn't understand each other? Because when she rewires the robot and uses the translator, she doesn't say anything really profound. She just insults him because he's not being a real Mandalorian. And then he just gets off his ass and starts working on the ship. So I don't understand the reason for all this. I mean, maybe this will play in another episode, but it's not serving this episode. So Mando's working on the ship, and the child's like, hey, you need to come take a look at this. And he's like, okay, what do you mean? The frog person, okay, the amphibian, who I would assume is cold-blooded, decides to take a walk in the snow on the ice planet. Okay? Because for whatever reason, maybe it's just intuition, she found a hot spring, like a jacuzzi in the middle of the ice, and then she just is so comfortable she just gets naked, jumps in, and just pours all her little babies out, just in the water. I mean, how did you know that this pool wasn't contaminated? I mean, you just sort of jumped in and, it's fine, Or maybe did you test it? I mean, was there a test kit that you used? I mean, it just seems a little weird. So, of course, Mando's like, what the hell are you doing? Get your stuff together, get back to the ship. I don't have time for this. I can't protect you over here, while you're chilling in the hot tub while I'm trying to fix the damn plane. Come on, let's go. So while Mando's trying to help her get her stuff together, the child just walks around and decides to, eat something. So here we go with the joke again, how the child likes to eat everything, and it's kind of like a toddler, they always walk around and put stuff in their mouth, but this time it's going to get them, they're going to get in trouble. So the child decides to walk around and eat one of the alien eggs. I mean, like from the movie Alien. I swear, I thought this thing was going to open up and a face hugger was going to jump out. But it's like a space spider egg, and then all the other spiders say, hey, what are you doing? So they start hatching, and then giant spiders come out of nowhere. And basically, they run away from the spiders, get in the Razor Crest. They're being swarmed by the bugs and the spiders, and they're saved by the 2 X-Wing pilots who just, I guess, heard the commotion from above, or maybe saw blaster fire, but it's not night yet, and they land their X-Wings without anybody knowing or seeing, and then they open up their hatches and they just start picking off the spiders. So the X-Wing pilots with their rifles pick off all the spiders, including the giant one that was on the Razor Crest, which is a little bit unbelievable. One of the X-Wing pilots, by the way, was Dave Filoni. Just working yourself in there, aren't you, Dave? And they let Mando know that, yeah, we ran your plates. But we also see in the security records that you actually took out 3 bad guys, and you also put yourself in danger. You put yourself in harm's way to protect the life of Lieutenant Davin, who eventually died. So, failed attempt, but a valiant attempt nonetheless. And of course, they're referring to the events that happened in Season 1, Episode 6, titled The Prisoner. When you get to the end of this episode, you see the concept art, and this is really an episode where the concept art was cooler than the actual story itself. There was actually details in the concept art of the spiders that was not present on the actual spiders in the show. All the little red eyes in the concept art would have made these things a little more menacing, because as I was watching this, I thought that the whole episode was kind of dark, and sort of monochromatic, where the white spiders were kind of blending in with the white snow, and it was tough to get a sense of scale or even how many there were. I mean, I knew there must have been hundreds of these things, but it was difficult to sort of see that. I think the red eyes would have made a big difference. So what we have here is an episode where Mando left the place he was at in the other episode and didn't quite get to the place he needs to be in this episode. So this was an episode where he was just in transit. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I don't like the episodes that just don't move the story forward really at all. I mean, we should have made a step, okay? At the end of this episode, we should have gotten to the planet and had a small reveal. We should have gotten to the planet, and he, being Mando, should have gained some sort of knowledge about something. But we just didn't get there, Now, I will give the episode this. We did get that sense of the larger world. We got a little peek into the New Republic. Well, obviously, we see some of their procedures. We see the way they're sort of patrolling the galaxy, how they're non-confrontational. They're just like cops, They're just trying to make sure everybody's doing the right thing, They're establishing order. So I did like that. I like the fact that they're keeping records, keeping tabs on people like Mando who are, involved in things that have the Republic's best interest at heart. He was actually at a Republic prison, and they know that, and that actually came into play in this episode. So I liked that little moment there, those little clues and hints of a bigger world. But still, for me, it just wasn't enough to really save the episode. All right, now it's time to rate this episode. I'm going to have to give it a 6. It was a good episode. Solid for the most part. There were some things that could have been done to really move the story along a little bit better. And I think that, once again, when you've only got 8 episodes in a season, every episode has to count. And when you waste 3.5 minutes on a scene that makes no difference in the story or plot whatsoever, I think the score does reflect that. But anyway, y'all, those were my thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Y'all have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.